Wow, here we go. Right, just trying to flag it up on my phone so I can hopefully see comments. Oh, I've got more comments coming up on here. Ah, anyone out there? Say hi. No one's looking yet. No one's watching. No viewers. This could be a boring episode. Oh, we got one viewer. That'll be me. Anyone else? Just going to wait a few minutes for people to join us, and I'm just going to waffle and talk about a few things before we get into talking about low self-esteem. Yeah, one of my friends introduced me yesterday to an app um, that's created by Wim Hof. If you've never heard of Wim Hof, he's the Iceman, and he's done some crazy stuff in cold water therapy, breathing exercises, etc. And I downloaded the app yesterday, and I followed his first set of breathing exercises, and I then went on to hold my breath for 2 minutes 10 seconds. It's all about control. And it wasn't a struggle. It wasn't an effort. After the breathing exercises, your body was so oxygenated, I just didn't need to breathe again for over 2 minutes. And it's a free app to download. So yeah, just put in Wim Hof, W-I-M-H-O-F. And it's fascinating the videos that are in there talking about how it helps with depression, anxiety, stress, and improves your overall well-being, physically and mentally. So I'm giving it a go. It's interesting stuff. I'll wait a few more minutes, see if we can get some more viewers before we start talking about it. Hi, Maria. I'm guessing you can hear me. Just someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Not not just talking into a dead microphone. I was going to do this through Zoom, but for some reason, again, always seems to be when I really need it, it won't connect with the Facebook group. It says I don't have permission to share it. Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Thank you very much. Got a thumbs up, and you can obviously hear me. That's great. Now, while we're waiting for people to arrive and see if we get any more viewers, I've got a question for you. I'd like you to write it in the comments. So that's why I keep looking left at the other screen to see what comments there are appearing. But I'd like you to just write down in the comments the one thing you hear that voice in your head say to you, which is negative, that thing that creates this low self-esteem. It could be something simple like that you're just not good enough, and you just keep telling yourself you're just not good enough. It could be something a bit more dramatic that you actually keep telling yourself that you're stupid. It could be a variety of things. So anything at all. If you've got a criticism that you keep telling yourself, maybe it's about your physical appearance. Just be brave, write it in the comments, and we might be able to specifically talk about it, depending on what subject it is. We'll just give it one more minute, and then I'm going to start waffling on. We'll get stuck into the meat and veg, talking about low self-esteem and why it comes with anxiety. Excellent. So one of the things we need to realize with low self-esteem that it quite often starts when we're young, maybe really, really young. Or it could happen in our teens as well, but it can quite often start in childhood. It can of course happen when we're as an adult. Maybe something happens at work, bullying, whatever, teasing, getting with the wrong crowd, or you just get made to be feel like an outcast. But quite often these things are embedded into us as children. From my own personal experience, having dyslexia and not being diagnosed at school, I always used to get told I was lazy, I was stupid, I need to try harder, and I'll never amount to anything. Wow, hopefully I proved him wrong. But it's interesting that that stuck with me for quite a few years, and it only really changed, and I mean really changed, about 7, 8 years into my military career. And I didn't join the military till I was 26. So we're looking at early 30s um, before my self-esteem completely changed and my own belief system completely changed. But it all started off for me as a child at school. And I'm sure for some of you it was exactly the same. And of course, it could come from a parent. It could come from people of authority, people we look up to. It could be come from our peers, and that teasing that goes along with you know life at school. The kind of things that can also affect it then and bring it on are physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, and of course sexual abuse as well. And it just makes us feel worthless. Other things that can happen in our childhood is that we end up being neglected. We feel unloved. We feel we're being ignored. And we may even feel completely unwanted, which can happen in some family environments. And no, I have no experience of going through the system as a foster child or adoption, but I can imagine that at times that can feel quite terrible. And hopefully these children do get in with a good family that does make them feel loved. I do know some foster parents, and they're absolutely amazing. They do everything they can for the children that come through their door. But of course, we've all heard of some of the horrible stories that have happened as well. School as well, children can be absolutely cruel, bullying and teasing. And sometimes if you looked at it from the outside, it just sounds like words. But on the inside, for the individual receiving it, it can be absolutely devastating. And it can really plant the seed to low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and feeling absolutely rubbish. Okay. One of the things that, of course, develops from low self-esteem and once it's been embedded in our early years is our unrealistic expectations of ourselves. Okay. We feel like we should be doing so much better. We feel like we should be earning thousands and thousands of pounds a week. We feel like we should be as gorgeous as models that walk the catwalk. We feel, our all sorts of things that we should improve on. We give ourselves standards that are actually completely crazy when we actually break them down. Because of course, not everyone can be a model on the catwalk, and that doesn't mean you're any less worthy. It just means you're not like them, and they're not like you, and that's just the way it is. And this quite often then develops into things that we can look out for. Actually, quite often develops into things like self-hatred. That negative voice in our head completely destroying us on a daily basis. We quite often have, when we do have these words in our head, they're generalizations. And it's just like things like, I'm just not good enough. I'll never be good enough. Uh, I'm always look rough when I go out. I always feel ugly. I'm always fat. I'm always this. I'm always that. And we use these full-on generalizations. And we need to really challenge those when we hear ourselves talking like that. To specifically notice that we're not always looking rough. We can actually look quite good when we, put on a bit of makeup, do our hair, whatever it is. We all brush up a bit smarter, a bit nicer. When we feel like we're just always useless, we're always rubbish. Well, we're not always useless, we're not always rubbish. We can make a nice dinner, we can do things, we can do other things. So we've got to make sure that we don't use generalizations when we hear that voice in our head. And if we do hear that voice in our head using generalizations, then we need to really challenge it and break it down and focus on the things that you can do, the things that you are good at. And we're all good at something. Might not be an expert at it. I believe I'm quite good at cooking. I'm not going to win any cooking competitions though, but I can cook a meal. I can cook a roast dinner. Yeah, and hopefully, when I do cook, it doesn't come out bad. I'm quite good at cooking. I quite like doing a nice full English breakfast as well, in a healthy way. So we do need to make sure we don't use generalizations and focus on the things that we are good at. So we need to really switch up our internal dialogue, really notice what's going on and really challenge that voice in our head. Anyone who's read the chimp paradox will know, and anyone who's heard me talking about it will realize that I have my own little chimp in the back of my head telling me things that I don't want to hear, and putting me down sometimes. But I sometimes just kind of get a little bit of a slap and tell it to stop it, challenge it, and tell it to stop being stupid. But we can quite often fall into that little circle of dialogue in our head, which just keeps putting us down. Yeah. So challenge those negative beliefs. Make sure you challenge them full as well, full on. So if you look at, let's think of it as something quite simple that we can challenge and break it down as an example. If someone says they're always messing things up, straight away we've got a generalization there. And we need to take out the word always for a start. So you may have messed something up, which is why you've said that to yourself. And you can look at that and think, okay, I've messed it up. Well, how have I messed it up? What caused it? What caused me to mess up in the first place? There could be things outside of your own circumstances that have created the problem for you, and it just makes you feel bad anyway. But if you've messed up, one thing we need to learn to do is straight away forgive ourselves. We all mess up. None of us are perfect. So learn to forgive yourself and literally say to it, it's okay. Say to yourself, it is okay. Okay, I've messed up. But one thing I can learn from messing up is I can learn how not to do it. Okay, so next time I'm going to do it right. So we do really need to challenge ourselves with these. Um, we need to make sure that when we're breaking down our generalizations, that we do look for the positives, the good things that we are good at. Okay, I've messed up this time, but last week I helped somebody in such a way that it's changed their life forever. I went and comforted a friend, and it made them feel better. Whatever it is, there's always things that we're good at, always things that we do that are positive. The effect and impact on people's lives on a daily basis that we have is often dramatic, but we don't actually realize it. Other things we need to do then is realize that failing doesn't make you a failure. If you fail at something, it just means that for whatever reason, you haven't succeeded in that particular event, area, whatever it is. That doesn't mean to say that you can't keep on having a go at it, but we do need to make sure that from our failures we learn. And if it's something that we really want, then we need to make sure we're determined to keep going, keep at it, make a success of it. Work out what went wrong, change it, mix it up, find out a better way of doing it. Ask for help, ask for advice. Another thing we need to think about then when it comes to low self-esteem is don't sweat the small stuff. Okay, actually, this reminds me, I use something called an action circle. I'm just going to pull it out of my folder here. An action circle, something that's in my online course actually. So, an action circle worksheet. So what we do in here then is in the middle bit, you're going to put things in that are important that you can do something about. In the outer circle, you're going to put things in there that are small stuff and that you can't do anything about. So you don't sweat it. So what brings your focus into the middle, the things that you need to really focus on, the things that you really need to, uh, that are important, and the things that you can actually change. And you can write all sorts of things in there, from something like COVID-19 to making sure my shirt's on for work on Monday morning, whatever it is. Things that you can do about things you need to focus on. Now, there's obviously something like COVID-19, we can all do our little bit, but overall, there's not a lot we can do about it. Okay, and if we want to go something bigger, like nuclear armament, we want to disarm the world from nuclear weapons, then of course we can protest, we can make people aware of how it can be done. But overall, really, it's not down to us as individuals to disarm the world. disarm governments. The governments have to make that decision for themselves. The only thing we can do is maybe protest. But if it's something that bothers you, you either go and do something about it and protest and make yourself feel better by doing something, or you don't sweat it, ignore it, put it on the outside circle, and keep those things that are important, like things that you can do something about in that middle circle. Connection with a loved one, whatever it is. Make sure you get, got a phone with mum on Thursday night and chat to her, whatever it is. Make sure you put all those important things in the middle, all the things that you can focus on, all the things that you can do something about. And you can revisit that sheet on a daily basis. And of course, it's all right having stuff in the middle, but it's all stuff that you need to take action with. And that might mean making a plan before you can take action. Okay. Another big thing then, this is a big one when it comes to low self-esteem. And that is the fact that we compare ourselves to others. Okay? And it's the one thing we really, really need to stop doing. Now, I quite often compare myself to others, but not in a negative way. I compare myself to others for people I want to aspire to be like. If I see someone being successful at something, I compare myself to them, realize where I may be weak in those areas, and then I want to learn how I can not be weak in those areas. I want to develop, I want to grow, I want to aspire to be like them or be as good as them in whatever field I'm looking at. So that's something we really need to do. Now, you may have really noticed that I haven't actually mentioned the word anxiety yet. Now, that's because everything about low self-esteem makes you anxious. Whether it's comparing yourself to others, whether it's been worrying about things you don't need to worry about, whether it's those generalizations, those negative thoughts, you're going to get anxiety. And from anxiety, you're going to get stress. Now, you can have stress without anxiety, but you cannot have anxiety without stress. Anxiety stresses you the hell out. All right? And that's when we need to find ways of coping with it. So we know that low self-esteem, those negative thoughts, putting ourselves down, is going to create anxiety, and that's going to create stress. And that can lead into all sorts of vicious cycles, okay? Whether it be sleep pattern, not eating properly, whatever it is, losing that mojo for going to the gym, whatever it is. So we really need to listen to ourselves, focus, and stand up for yourself from time to time. And that's in your head, whether it be in your head or even at work, wherever it is. Sometimes we just need to stand up for ourselves. And that can just make us feel so much better. And this all leads on then to being proactive. If we can see a problem, we need to do something about it. And we've covered this all sort of stuff in the past about being proactive with things that we need to do. Write down the things that you know can help you. Things like meditation, exercise, whatever it is. Make sure you write those down as a list, as your go-to plan for when you're feeling crap, when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling just low. I have a list of things that you can do. I have my own list. I don't have it written down actually. Well, I do have it in my phone. And my sort of 3 or 4 things that I like to do to cope with or get me out of feeling low, get me out of feeling depressed, get me out of feeling stressed is the first one straight away is meditation. Okay. I've mentioned my meditation audio loads of times, and you can still download it through this group page. So you just scroll up or down a little bit, and you'll be able to find the link, download it. And it's phenomenal how much that difference that can make just in 20 minutes. Just changes the whole way you feel. We've got quite a few highs here, so I'm just going to distract myself. Let's start at the top. We got Maria. Hi Maria. Hi Wendy. Hi Tina. And hi Kim. Good. A few highs there. I like that. Nice to feel like I'm actually talking to people out there. Okay. Forgotten where I was now. Distracted myself. Terrible. How did I distract myself? Talking about social media. Okay, and that's one thing, of course, that can stress us out. So, yeah, my go-to things, that was it. Meditation is my first one. Exercise is probably one of my second ones. Can't always get to exercise, though. So if the option is there to exercise, then that's what I'll go and do. If there isn't, then I have to find other things to do. I've started a nice sort of meditation flow thing with a rope. If you want to find that on Facebook, it's called Way of the Rope. It's not quite skipping, but it's learning to flow, swinging a rope around, and it's quite technical as well. It's good challenging myself, challenging my uncoordination. And when I get a little bit better out of it, at it, I'm going to start videoing myself and maybe putting it on the group to show how a simple bit of exercise in the garden can really, and I noticed in just a couple of minutes of it, my shoulders are burning. It's a great form of little exercise and meditation all in one. Other things I like to do then, something I do every day now is cold shower. Cold water therapy. You only need to be under there for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and it's exhilarating. It kicks in some endorphins and dopamines every morning for me, and just starts making me feel better. I'll have the music on while I'm in the shower as well. I'll have a warm shower first, wash, shave, whatever you need to do, and then I'll turn it to cold. Sometimes I step out of it and do some breathing exercises before I get back in. Sometimes I just let it shock me as I turn it to cold. Woohoo! And you'll hear me saying that if you stand outside my house when I'm having a shower. A few little squeals and woohoos as I start feeling good. It's amazing. Um, nerve stimulation is another one, vagus nerve exercise. I have put that on here before, a link to a video on it. I might do that again if anyone wants to know how to exercise your vagus nerve. Then I've got a video I can just link into the group page, which is interesting. And it's the vagus nerve that is stimulated during fight, flight, freeze. So when you're stressed, anxious, it's going to be triggered, and we want to learn how to calm it down. And this 1 minute exercise, 2 minutes tops, lying down, exercising your vagal nerve, can really make a difference to the way you feel. And doing that on a regular basis keeps your vagus nerve in check. You don't necessarily have to do it daily. You might want to do it daily to start off with. I probably do it once a fortnight now. So, okay, Wendy, I'll make sure I'll drop a link in underneath this thread for you, okay, for the vagus nerve video. No problem at all. So it's interesting. It's interesting stuff, and there's lots of stuff out there which would be classed as holistic, a little bit out of the box, and but can really help. It's not for everyone. Not everyone will like it, and for everyone it won't necessarily work. But I've had a lot of success with it for me and for some of my clients, so that's good news. Um, um, Other things that we can do then is focus on something completely different. Mindfulness is great for that. Focus on being present. Okay. Now, one of the things I noticed, which is weird that I only noticed it recently, is when I was out mountain biking. When I was out, oh, sorry, nice one, Mick, Mike Brewster there, just mentioning that cold showers are amazing. Big up for Wim Hof. Yes, absolutely. Um, when I was out mountain biking, I realised that because of the undulating terrain and the some of the difficulty, I wouldn't say necessarily obstacles. I don't do anything that challenging, but there's tree roots, there's little dips, there's all sorts of things you've got to avoid, and make sure you put in your wheels in the right place so you don't crash. And you can't be any more present than you are when you're doing something like that, because if you're not present for a split second, yeah, you're going to hit something, you're going to crash, you're going to fall off, and for the hour and a half odd that I'm out mountain biking up at a high lodge, um, I can't think about anything else because otherwise I'd crash. So you can't be any more present than that. And I mean, some bits of the route you can, you're cycling on a bit of flat or maybe a slight incline, and of course then my thoughts can divert about things maybe I've got to do later, or sometimes I'm just looking around in nature and I just go completely blank and just enjoy the space I'm in. But certainly when it gets a bit more challenging on the routes, you can't think about anything else. You just you got to make sure you're putting your tire in the right direction. So there might be other things like that. I'm sure it was the same when I used to run. Obviously, I can't run now because of my knee injury. But when I used to run, it used to be the same sort of thing. You've got to be focused on your running, focus on what you're doing. And it's a really good way of clearing your head. But mindfulness, get out there, enjoy nature, and just focus on how wonderful nature is. The sound of the birds, the smell of the trees, whatever it is, it's always amazing. And there's always plenty of places to explore. You don't have to necessarily go too far. Even if you live in a city or town where there's not much greenery, there's always something somewhere, some back streets, some quiet places where there's the odd bit of greenery, trees, flowers, gardens, whatever, that you can just participate in a little bit of mindfulness and allowing yourself to chill out. Now, of course, breathing exercises are excellent. And now, for those who may have missed the beginning, I did mention Wim Hof breathing exercises, the app that you can download, and how the breathing exercises he does can actually change you physically and mentally. And I did it for the first time yesterday, and I managed to hold my breath after doing the breathing exercises for 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And that's just phenomenal. I showed it to my mate today, and he did it for the first time, and he did 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Not that I'm trying making it a competition, because it certainly isn't. But he wasn't expecting it. I didn't give him any build up. I just threw him straight into it. So he wasn't quite as prepared as I was when I watched the video and read everything about it in the app before I started it. Um, and it's amazing, and you do feel better, and it does help train your vascular system. So you are going to be physically feeling better after a while of doing it. It also changes your body into a more alkaline system, which can be great for fighting off illnesses. Now, you wouldn't want to be in an alkaline state for too long because it's actually bad for you. But when we go into the fight, flight, freeze, we have found that the body is slightly more alkaline. And of course, you want it to go back to normal almost immediately afterwards. But when we're stressed all the time, then that can actually cause long-term illnesses, chronic pain, etc., etc. And this breathing exercises are a great way to counteract it by bringing it all back to normal after you've done the breathing exercises. It's absolutely amazing. So give it a go. Um, but yeah, low self-esteem will make you anxious. Being anxious will make you stressed. So we really need to look at the cause and unprogram our brains in to get ourselves out of being in a state of low self-esteem. We need to stop beating ourselves up. We need to be able to forgive ourselves when things do go wrong, or if we do mess up, because we're only human. We need to be able to challenge our negative thoughts, our negative self-beliefs. We need to make sure we give ourselves realistic expectations. Okay? And don't sweat the small stuff. Stop comparing ourselves to others. And stop thinking that others are better than you. I mean, there are people out there who are better than me at doing things like hypnosis. Absolutely. And it doesn't stop me enjoying it. It doesn't stop me helping others either. And for everyone I help, then that's a great thing. Uh, Quite often I've had clients come to me for hypnotherapy. I do a combination of hypnosis, CBT, and NLP. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. I use the various techniques, and I choose wisely what's going to be best for the client when they come in. And I've had plenty of people come in with low self-esteem problems, and I do give them a bit of a similar talk to what I'm doing tonight to get them going, get them heading in the right direction. A bit of education can go a long way. Um, so we do need to understand what low self-esteem is and where it comes from. Uh, we may not know where it comes from in ourselves. We'll probably guess. And it may be that it's just that negative thoughts in our head that we've actually done it to ourselves. Just because of maybe one day we didn't perform as well as we'd like to, and then we just start telling ourselves that we're just rubbish all the time. Generalizations. Don't need it. So once we've recognized our low self-esteem, once we've recognized that negative voice in our head, once we started challenging it and making sure we turn it around, look at the positives, we then need to be proactive in keeping ourselves out of anxiety and stress and our low self-esteem. You need to be proactive. Find out what works for you. And if you're short of ideas or you want some new ideas, then get in touch. We'll maybe come up with a plan. Okay, you can always jump on my website, book a quick free call with me, okay? And I'll give you a call and we'll have a quick chat. And they're free, okay? Yeah. So that we need to realize as well is that how we treat ourselves is the way other people are likely to treat us. If people see that you're always being negative towards yourself, then they're probably going to be negative towards you as well. If people see that you're always telling yourself you're stupid, they're going to start believing that you're stupid, even though they might have no measure of why you might be stupid at all. Okay? They might have no evidence whatsoever. But because they hear you telling yourself you're stupid all the time, they'll probably start to believe it too. Because you do. Why wouldn't they? Okay? And that's just going to just keep unwinding ourselves. So we do need to make sure that how we treat ourselves is the way we want other people to treat us. And by showing people how we like to treat ourselves is going to show people how they should be treating us as well. Food for thought, that one. Food for thought. So make sure you do portray a sense of self-worth for yourself, a self-respect for yourself, because then people will see that you're worth something and will respect you. Okay, but if you're putting yourself down all the time, they'll probably join in and put you down as well. So don't do it. You deserve so much better. You absolutely do. We all deserve to be happy, confident, and feeling like we're living life to the max. Because otherwise, what's the point? You know, we need to be doing it. We need to be proactive. We need to be making sure we seek out happiness. At the end of the day, that's all our subconscious wants for us. It wants us to be happy. It helps us to survive, and it'll kick into survival mode when needed. But if it's in survival mode, it's not happy. If you're not in survival mode, then you should be happy. Okay? If you're not happy, chances are you're in survival mode of some degree, whether it be from low self-esteem, anxiety, and stress, which are all physical fight, flight, freeze responses. You know, the quickening of the heart rate, the stress on the body, the heat, the sweat, everything else that can come with it. We don't need it. We certainly don't need it. We deserve to be happy. So please do get in touch. Please write some comments. I hope you enjoyed it tonight. It's a bit strange, this one tonight, realizing that low self-esteem is going to make you anxious, and being anxious is going to make you stressed. So we need to completely reverse engineer it and stop ourselves being stressed, anxious, or having low self-esteem. I hope you enjoyed it. Please write some comments. Please let me know what you'd like to talk about next time. And I will put the link up for the vagus nerve video that I've done. It's interesting. You'll enjoy it. And I look forward to picking a subject that we can talk about in maybe 3 weeks' time. All right? Take care now, and God bless. Bye. Ooh.